Today, we're going to talk about Sarah Wynn-Williams. She's the former Facebook executive who tells all in her new book, Careless People, which I've been listening to on Audible, by the way. She also spoke to Congress yesterday, and she has lots to say about her 7-year stint working at Meta. We're also going to learn some Instagram strategies that come directly from the head of the platform, Adam Mosseri, plus some other news and strategies that will help you work smarter, not harder. Hey, everybody. I'm Madeline Sklar. Welcome to Social Media and AI Shortcuts. I've been in the digital marketing space for nearly 30 years now. I feel so old, and been teaching social media for the last 20. And what I do is pretty simple. I help business owners and entrepreneurs who feel overwhelmed with social media, because let's face it, there's so much happening every single day. And also for those who struggle with keeping up with the newest in AI. There's so many AI tools. It seems like there's 10 new ones every day. It's hard to keep up with it all. So I help people with that. But we come here to just hang out, have discussions, and I've got my group of panelists who are members of our community that are just incredible people. And hello, everybody. I'm so glad. It's always nice seeing y'all smiling faces.
Great to be here with you all.
Yes.
Thank you. It's always fun.
Thanks for joining. So we had to miss last week. Unfortunately, I had a water pipe burst in my home, and some of it was in my office. My whole office had to be like, I had to move like a lot of things out. It was a lot of cleanup, and it was a crazy week last week. So we were not able to, I was no way I could physically, like my office was just in shambles. So everything's back to normal now. All is good. It's like it didn't even happen. So that's a good thing. So it's great to be back, because it was weird not doing this last week. But it's always great hanging out with everybody and doing this. This is always a fun hour of learning and sharing. So thank y'all so much for being here. I do want to mention that I'm planning to take a little bit of a pause with the weekly, I'm still working. You know, the beauty of being a solopreneur, you can just make decisions on the fly. But I got a lot going on with my other stuff I do, my passion project with my Kratom Stories podcast and all the advocacy work. And actually 2 weeks from right now, I'll be in Washington, D.C., going to Capitol Hill for some of my advocacy work that I do. So I know for sure 2 weeks from now, I will not be able to do our Thursday space. But just stay tuned to see, like, you know, if we'll have one next week. I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to take a little bit of a pause on this while I'm doing all this other stuff that's keeping me super busy or what. But it would be hard to give up this Thursday time slot, because this goes back to Twitter Smarter that I started in 2015, which was 10 years ago. You know, this summer will be the 10-year anniversary of when I started that old school Twitter chat. And it's always been at this time frame, every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. So it'd be weird to not have something at this time, you know?
I just wanted to share, I was on Blue Sky a couple weeks ago, and one of the writers said, hey, will you join our, it was like small business kind of, you know, chat. And so you have to do the type everything in and make sure you include the hashtag. And I was like, wow, this is so old school. It's so, like how we used to do Twitter chats, you know, but it was just funny to me. Like, it's like when I started doing Twitter chats, it was the typing and the hashtags. There was no live, there was no audio. So things have really moved along quite a bit, which is really nice.
Rachel, that's funny you say that, because I just saw a post this morning that was saying it's 2025. Why is anyone using hashtags anymore? So it's so interesting to have these conversations, because everyone is using these tools in different ways, and they're changing all the time too. But these conversations are great to keep up to date with.
It's so much easier to just be here live with you guys than have to type everything and include the hashtag in every freaking, you know, post. It's like,
oh yeah. But you know, when we started the old school Twitter chats back in the day, that was all we knew. That
was it.
I remember
right then,
I remember when hashtags started, it's like, wait a minute, we could, because that was before like they really had search capabilities on Twitter, and it became a way of searching, which was really cool. And I started my first Twitter chat in 2011, back when I was in addition to, I do a lot of things, but my passion project back then was an online community I built in the 90s for promoting women in music. So I worked with a lot of female indie artists, and I loved the whole Twitter chat concept back then, and there weren't a lot of people doing it yet. So in 2011, I decided to start one. My music community was called Go Girls Music, so I came up with the hashtag GGChat, short for Go Girls, and I did that every Thursday. You know what? That was every Thursday. I did it in the evening. It was every Thursday evening. And over time, people loved it so much that people in Europe were like, we want to participate, but it's like 3 a.m. for us. Can you do it earlier?
Yeah.
So I'm like, but the time slot I was doing was so good. I think it was 9 o'clock Eastern. It was so good that I was like afraid if I drastically moved it to the daytime. So being me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave that time slot, but then we'll do an earlier one. So it's going to be 2 of them on Thursdays. So I did like a Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern, and then again at 9 o'clock Eastern. And so people in Europe are like, yay, we have one we can do that won't be, middle of the night for us. But it also allowed other people that was a better time slot than the evening. And I juggled that I did for years and years and years. And when I started the Twitter Smarter Chat in 2015, I was still doing those chats. So, and it's like, well, what day of the week should I do Twitter Smarter Chat? I'm like, might as well make it a Thursday. Thursday is just Twitter chat day for me. So it became 1 o'clock Eastern, which is this time slot for Twitter Smarter Chat. And then I had my other 2 for the music community. And I did that for quite a while. And it's like, I don't know what possessed me to do that. But
Overachiever.
Yes, that would be a good way of putting it. Overachiever.
You're so good at what you do, though. It's yeah. Oh my gosh, so many people appreciate your energy out here for sure.
Oh, well, and I appreciate all of you all like coming here and hanging out. I'm so thrilled to see all the people commenting. Brienne's here and Dr. J, and it's just always great seeing so many cool, awesome people hanging out with us live as we have these discussions and chiming in the comments. I'm really excited about discussing this whole thing that's going on with Sarah Wynn-Williams, who, she was the former director of global public policy at Facebook. And Barb had talked about her over in our school platform, the social media AI shortcuts over on school. And I kept hearing about the book, but I don't know why I hadn't gotten it yet. But then Barb, you had talked about it over on school. And it's like, you know what? I got to get this. So I got the audiobook, but you were like sharing with us over there information about it, like more in depth of what it was all about. You did like some kind of summary, right? A ChatGPT summary or something?
Right. And I think they should join your school platform to really get the details on that. As we are streaming live to Facebook today, I'd rather it not be here. It's a good reason to join us over on Madeline's School.
There you go. School.com/Madeline Sklar, SKOOL is where you can join us, but it's in the ticker as well. Yeah, well, it's an interesting book for sure. But she spoke on Capitol Hill yesterday, which I did not know until Barb brought that to my attention. But let me first show the book. So if anybody's not familiar, this is her book. It's called Careless People. And
Great book.
It is. I'm really impressed with it so far.
Jaw-dropping.
It is. To get that insider perspective of being a top executive at Facebook. It is really interesting. So it's over on Amazon or wherever you like to get books.
13 hours.
I've got the Audible version, which is what, my preferred method. I'm very much just love audio, love listening to podcasts and audiobooks. So Barb, I know you've been, are you still reading it or are you done or listening?
No, I'm not done. I literally am doing a lot of jaw dropping as I read it. Definitely, not to change the subject, but on Facebook today is the TBT Throwback Thursday, right? So
yes.
In my memories for today is the one where Zuckerberg is testifying before from back in 2018.
Yeah.
And
That
I'm
was
like, oh, this is just too weird. All this stuff popping
wow.
up. And
So you had her testify yesterday and his 2018
show
same
up
week.
today,
Same week.
day after is I mean, we're talking and I've got chills going in my body at the moment.
Wow. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Eric is like an awesome person I know here in Houston. One of the top, so he is so smart. One of the top social media people I think I've ever met. He was recently at a rally here. I saw because I was watching a YouTube. Eric, I think I put in your comments on Facebook, Eric. I'm watching this Facebook replay. Bernie Sanders and Beto O'Rourke spoke as some big thing that I didn't even know had happened. And so I saw the video. So I was like, oh, I'll watch the replay. And pretty far into it, they were taking questions from people. And here's Eric. And I'm like, I know him. And Eric is so smart. You know what he did when he had the whole room's attention and asking a question to Bernie and Beto? He gets his phone and he kind of comes a little ways into where they're standing and holds the phone and goes, getting a picture, getting a selfie with them behind them. And they pose for it. And it's like brilliant. In the moment, I don't think I would think to do that. Like things like that. I thought, Eric, that was a brilliant move. That was a really brilliant move. We can all learn from you. Yeah. So,
Wow.
Really excellent to see that because it's like, it's easy to think of things after the fact. Like, oh man, I wish I would have done this. Just like how I'm traveling in a few weeks. And when I'm traveling, I'm like, I'm going to make all this content. I'm going to like all this behind the scenes. But then when you're there doing something, you're like, I forgot to do it. Or I'm so busy or I'm so engrossed in conversation. And you're like, I'm not being a very good content creator, am I?
Is Eric able to put that photo in the chat?
You know what? I will go find it on his Facebook real quick.
We might as well highlight it.
Yeah, for sure.
While you're gone, because I use StreamYard too, I'd be happy to host
that'd be great
in your absence or have one of the gals help me. But the thing is, you can, because of us using StreamYard, is you could just jump in from your phone and give us live reports from the event, and we've created the content because we get the recording, and then you can share that afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to participate when I'm there in 2 weeks because I'm going to be on that day. I'm going to be in
a lot on your mind.
Well, I'm going to be like at a symposium kind of thing, and I don't know if I'd be able to.
Not that before you go in,
I think it's going to be like an all day thing. Yeah, maybe something like that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I do with another live streaming producer is when he's on like that, where he's on speaking engagements, and that we go before he goes into the speaking engagement, and then after he comes out, to share with the students.
Did you guys watch the testimony about Facebook yesterday?
We're going to watch.
You're going to play a little clip for us, right?
I'm going to play her opening statement.
Okay.
And then I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing but I do have the video. It's an hour and 47 minutes, but just a little bit I've listened to is so compelling. So, Eric, are you cool with me sharing your Facebook photo? I just want to make sure he's okay with that on our live stream. But yeah, he literally walked up on the stage with them, took out his phone and it's a great photo, but I just want to make sure he's okay with me doing that. While we're waiting to hear from him, well, let me play the opening statement from Sarah Wynn-Williams on Capitol Hill yesterday. And again, thank you to Barb for mentioning this because I've been just so wrapped up in things I did not realize that happened yesterday. So I'm playing catch up today. I'm going to first play a YouTube short of, I want to kind of set the scene first. There's a guy who, just a random YouTube short I found where this guy talks about her book. It's just a 2-minute short clip. I just want to play that first. So those that aren't even familiar with her and her book, at least get a bit of an idea. So her name is Sarah Wynn-Williams. She wrote a book called Careless People. And she's the former director of global policy at Facebook. And she is a whistleblower. And yesterday she went to Congress to tell senators that Meta undermined U.S. security, among other things. It's like a whole bunch of stuff that came out yesterday. Super interesting. But let me first start with this video so I can kind of set the stage of who she is.
I got an email about this book coming out this week and immediately reached out to my local bookstore. I said, hey, can you order Careless People? And they said, you know what's weird is that we've just had an empty slot this week of a book that's coming out with no details, no cover, no title, no anything until today when it said it was Careless People by Sarah Wynn-Williams. And I thought, wow, that's really, really weird until I read it.
And then 2 days after the release, Meta got an emergency arbitration that essentially says that Sarah cannot promote the book at all and has to essentially stop publishing the memoir right now. So they're not going to make any more of these books. I cannot stress to you how absolutely insane the stories in this book are. And as much as I wouldn't side with Meta in this particular case, because these stories are just wild, I absolutely understand why they don't want her telling them. I'm going to share one story, and this isn't even the craziest story in the book. At one point in the book, Sarah has just had her first child. I think she's 2 months from giving birth. And there's a discussion about an open warrant for Mark Zuckerberg's arrest in North Korea, I believe. And in this meeting, they decided it's going to be a great idea that Sarah, being the least senior executive, should go to North Korea to test how serious North Korea is about arresting Meta employees. I don't know about you, but I've never worked at a place that like, hey, could you go get arrested for us just to see how that works? Because that would be amazing. That's also not the only time that happens in this book. So if you're fascinated by this space, like I am, this is absolutely worth reading. I tore through it. It's bananas. That said, you've got a short window while you'll still be able to do that before these books are off shelves. So you should probably fix that.
Wow. Kind of interesting, huh? It's like
he has a good
Absolutely.
point. He has a good point from a book perspective. Like, you got the Audible version, I got the Kindle, because I only read on Kindle so that I can highlight different quotes and then create visuals and things out of them. So that's how I read. Those can be withdrawn and you will be refunded and it will be gone. So
Wow.
I understand his point about get it in print, because I've never seen anything
Wow, I
like that.
didn't know that. Our
I've been in-
Kindle and our both the Kindle and our Audible,
They
because
can.
I have both versions.
Yeah, if they decide, whoever they is, wherever this legal stuff ends up, because those are digital, not physical copies, they can remove it from your devices.
Oh shoot!
wow.
You can't. Can you download it?
I did download it, but
They can still get to it.
Apparently, because Amazon has all of our books and information, so they know exactly what we've ordered and when we ordered it. So I agree with him. If it's something that you feel you need to read, go ahead and get that print copy if you can afford it. I think it only comes in hardcover right now, so it's a little more expensive.
And
But
it
don't
might be
you think
doubling in
that-
price.
Don't you think by now that, like, it's been out for a while, don't you think by now they would have done something if they were going to?
I don't know, because I think so much of this ends up, private dealings and, corporate boardrooms and, potential grand jury stuff. Like, I don't know where this is going to go, because she is a whistleblower.
Yeah,
And
I'm looking
especially after her testimony.
right. Yeah, I'm
I'm
looking
not
at-
predicting. I'm just saying I
Yeah,
agree
right.
with this point to get the
Oh
print version.
my!
Well,
Doggone it.
I'm looking on Amazon. The Audible version came out on March 11th, so it wasn't that long ago. Let
In
me
a
check.
month.
Let me
Yeah.
check Kindle and hardcover, see if it's all the same dates. So I just figure, like, if they were going to do it, it all came out on March 11th. So
Yeah.
that was like a month ago. So I just figure if they were going to do it, they would have done it by now. But I don't know. I mean, with her testifying yesterday, maybe they will pull it. I mean, I think there's been a legal battle for her to not release the book, for a while.
Yeah, and her publishing company, of course, knew this going in. They knew it would be a risk anytime you have a whistleblower. So I'm not surprised.
The risk and reward. Yeah. Well, let me play her opening statement because it's super interesting. Again, like, I just found out about this morning. I didn't realize it all happened yesterday. But I find it fascinating and interesting. And I remember when they had the other whistleblower years back, and it's interesting to hear these stories because these are stories they don't want the public to know.
Mm-hmm.
But we all still love our social media platforms. They're free. We get a lot out of it. So how much does it really sway the public from like saying, I'm not ever using this again? I mean, a lot of people don't like Elon, but they didn't all leave. I mean, a lot did, but not everybody.
I'm finding, at least in the writing community, that the majority of people who left X went to Blue Sky and Substack. And Substack now has Substack Notes, which Substack is indexed by Google. Blue Sky is not. But, if you want to just go there and hang out with your more liberal or your writer, and then that's more comfortable for you, then Blue Sky might be a better option. But I am getting authors coming to me saying, I don't care how important book Twitter is, or that, X gets indexed by Google. I don't want to be on that platform. And now they're feeling the same way about Meta. And it's like, well, you got to go where readers are. And the majority of readers are going to be on those social media platforms. So it's kind of like, are you, cutting off your nose to spite your face or whatever that, I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I think it's important to look at alternatives that are indexed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much, because I was able to put the hard copy in my cart. It is definitely, I can will it to somebody. I don't have that many years left, but I may not get enough of the book. I may not get enough of the content before it goes off the shelves. I think
it's a great marketing tactic. Honestly, it's like shot to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
But Madeline, the other thing is that she was in the hearing, and that is for us people. That is public domain.
Right.
What's going on in the hearing. So that is going to be there regardless.
Yeah.
Just like Zuckerberg's interview from 2018 that I was reminded of today. And when you see that, you could have a blast creating videos from those two.
Yeah.
And going back and reviewing, he said, she said,
Right.
Oh my.
Ooh.
Oh my.
It's a roller coaster going on over there. Well, let's watch her opening statement that she did yesterday, 6 minutes long. I think those that haven't seen this yet will find it quite interesting.
My name is Sarah Wynn-Williams, and I served as the Director of Global Public Policy at Facebook, now Meta, for nearly 7 years, starting in 2011. Throughout those 7 years, I saw Meta executives repeatedly undermine US national security and betray American values. They did these things in secret to win favor with Beijing and build an $18 billion business in China. We are engaged in a high-stakes AI arms race against China. And during my time at Meta, company executives lied about what they were doing with the Chinese Communist Party to employees, shareholders, Congress, and the American public. I sit before this committee today to set the record straight about these illegal and dangerous activities. Meta's dishonesty started with the betrayal of core American values. Mark Zuckerberg pledged himself a free speech champion. Yet I witnessed Meta work hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party to construct and test custom-built censorship tools that silenced and censored their critics. When Beijing demanded that Facebook delete the account of a prominent Chinese dissident living on American soil, they did it. And then lied to Congress when asked about the incident in a Senate hearing. The willingness to censor was not the only troubling thing I witnessed. I watched as executives decided to provide the Chinese Communist Party with access to Meta user data, including that of Americans. Meta does not dispute these facts. They can't. I have the documents. As recently as this Monday, they claim that they do not operate their services in China. Another lie. In fact, they began offering products and services in China as early as 2014. That hasn't stopped. Their own SEC filings from last year show that China is now Meta's second biggest market. Meanwhile, Meta's AI model, Llama, has contributed significantly to Chinese advances in AI technologies like DeepSeek. Facebook's secret mission to get into China was called Project Aldrin and was restricted to need-to-know staff. There was no bridge too far. Meta built a physical pipeline connecting the United States and China. Meta executives ignored warnings that this would provide backdoor access to the Chinese Communist Party, allowing them to intercept the personal data and private messages of American citizens. The only reason China does not currently have access to US user data through this pipeline is because Congress stepped in. Meta started briefing the Chinese Communist Party as early as 2015. These briefings focused on critical emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence. The explicit goal being to help China outcompete American companies. There's a straight line you can draw from these briefings to the recent revelations that China is developing AI models for military use, relying on Meta's Llama model. Meta's internal documents describe their sales pitch for why China should allow them into the market by, quote, helping China increase global influence and promote the China dream. The truth about what has gone on in China matters. I filed a shareholder resolution asking Meta's board to investigate its activity in China, and I filed whistleblower complaints with the SEC and the DOJ. The measure of how important these truths are is directly proportionate to the ferocity of Meta's efforts to censor and intimidate me. I relied on their commitment given in 2018 that they would waive their rights to pursue forced arbitration. Despite that public commitment, they've brought a case against me for hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, they have a legal gag order that silences me, even as Meta and their proxies spread lies about me. This order is so expansive that it prohibits me from speaking with members of Congress. The gag order was sought by a company whose CEO claims to be a champion of free speech. The American people deserve to know the truth. Meta has been willing to compromise its values, sacrifice the security of its users, and undermine American interests to build its China business. It's been happening for years, covered up by lies, and continues to this day. I am here at considerable personal risk because you have the power and the authority to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Oof. Wow. That was explosive. Oof. Man.
Brave lady.
Very brave. Very brave.
But when you think of where that commentary that just came out, it's out there, it's in, it's now part of the public domain. And that a lot had to take for her to be that brave, to be able to say that. She's got to be willing to stand behind every statement she's made.
Right.
And they knew it was coming. So those are questions because their PR people, it's like, how do they cover that? how do they handle that now? And that's just the same thing with this reminder of his testimony. You know, that's out there, that belongs to people. He said that then. Of course, he was 33 years old at the time. Now he's, you know, we're back in the now, and he said other things in the current year. It's like comparing that. And of course, we expect as people age that they also mature. No matter, you know, how successful they are as children and become adults. And it's a shocking time, a great time to be alive. I don't want to give up too soon because it ain't over yet. But oh my.
Does it make you feel differently about Facebook and using it when you hear stuff like this from a whistleblower?
Not me at all. Not me. Because
No.
I saw things unfolding back then. And what the, you know, it's like, how do we interpret these actions that are being taken? And I mean, like you know, I'm actually drinking out of a coffee mug that I got at one BBS con in 1994, talking about online community. So that's the whole thing. You and I have been here all that time, Madeline.
Yeah.
And we've seen it go before our eyes. And it's a revolutionary period in our lifetime that we're going through right now. I don't care. I'm not picking sides or anything. It is revolutionary any way you look at it. And I said in the live I participated in with the Udemy instructor today, and we don't necessarily agree on politics the same. But he's been online about the same amount of time. And I said, but it is not the place you want to be talking about politics. I had a solid rule. We will not talk politics online. Get out and vote. Learn what's available in your countries, in your communities, in your states. Learn how government works. And that's your responsibility, but not to be put on these social platforms. And now the number one guy in developing social, the network to talk on, and it's coming back. And I'm thinking, well, for sure, whatever she has said, and he's allowed that to be said. I mean, even though, you know, like they said, they had the injunction to stop her promoting it and that. I think he's smart enough. He's a brilliant guy. He's smart enough to know that if he said, no, you can't do it, it's going to sell more copies just for that mere step that he took is like, he said, you know, put this against it, but it's going to sell more copies just out of curiosity, whether it's good or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows it's out there. And then take the other side with the publishers who have their companies at stake in this too. Because I mean, somebody's got to publish that for her and distribute it. Even Amazon. I mean, and then you get the public involved. It's revolutionary this time we're in publishing, online and off. I'm actually back in the city. When I got online, this Page One bookstore here would feature all of the publishers from all over the world would want to come into this bookstore in Albuquerque, New Mexico, including Donald Trump. You know, so, I mean, really, it was everything. And the traditional way. And look how we can, in one day, you can actually, us being here meeting, can create a book out of this.
Right.
And we would have that material that is already public domain. We can use that material. And those people knew it when they actually were interviewed, when they spoke, and all of those things. So it is how to process it. I had so many wow moments. It's like, I have to stop reading. I have to stop listening to catch my breath. And I wasn't even speaking.
Yeah.
Well, I love what Barbara said about, the sales will increase. We were just laughing the other day about books in general. The most popular table at the bookstore is the banned book
Mhm.
table at the front, right?
Right.
That's where I go first, because you want to buy stuff up before it disappears. And the whole idea of censorship has been around forever. I mean, hopefully we won't see, piles of books getting burned somewhere, but we're seeing those digital copies at risk, even when you're putting money out there. I think the global economy and the way everything has been intertwined for years. For years. This isn't the first time that something like this is happening. And I think from a whistleblower, I think that it's pretty obvious stuff like this is happening everywhere, not just at Meta. That's the thing that
Right.
makes me not that bothered by it, because it's just so common. It's the money, the greed that is overshadowing any kind of patriotism or kindness to other people. It's about stepping on other people and making more money for a lot of people out here. And
Yeah.
so I think that's just the most we can do is call attention to it. And, I just read the book, The Nightingale. I don't know if you guys have read that. It's about World War II and the French resistance and the Gestapo burning books. And the first place they start, is the newsprint, the books, the professors, people who are willing to tell truth. And in today's world, I mean, even, law firms and all sorts of organizations are being diminished. So there's going to be less accountability. There's not going to be anyone out here to help control these kinds of things.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's disturbing. It's happening. And I don't think any one person is responsible, but I think that it's important that we remind each other what's happening. And good for her. Good for her
Yeah.
speaking out. I
Very
mean,
brave. Very
yeah.
brave.
I
You don't
mean,
wanna
I
watch-
also
Oh, go ahead.
feeling the compassion for Mark, and he doesn't deserve. Well, he was 33 years old. I'm a mother of a child who's been 33, and not my only child, and actually they're in the same in the same age range. And the thing is that I know you're adults, fellas, when you're 33 years old, but to your mama, you're her baby boy kind of thing. And he was part of the revolution, if you will, that Madeline, and so I don't know how long you other girls have been online, but I mean, back in those days, I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, Halt and Catch Fire, I was called in to be a consultant on that. And I remember my son calling me and he said, Mom, that's your story, Mom. How did they get that, Mom? I said, well, I do a few things online, son. But, I wouldn't even made those connections had I not been connected online.
But you're talking about the TV show? That TV show?
Oh, yeah.
That was quite
fantastic.
That was
I've been to my home now where I have documents that are signed by people that were in that story, the real people,
Yeah, that low key, I think, was one of the best shows that I watched during the pandemic.
Yeah,
and it's on my queue to rewatch it because the writing, the act, like it was amazing.
You got it, Rachel.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. What is it called?
I'm gonna go find a YouTube
Halt and
trailer.
Catch Fire.
It was
Halt
an amazing
and
show.
Catch Fire.
Halt and Catch Fire.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if you've known me for any length of time, you'll be able to pick up on characters and people that I've spoken of and so forth. So it's fascinating. But the point is, those people, I was probably 5 years older than most of them. And so I'm still the older person. And back then, girls, that may not happen to any of you, but we weren't treated equally when it came to working on technology. It was like, oh, it came out of a girl's mouth. It just can't be right. We got to fix it. I'm
That
not
hasn't been
against you
fixed yet.
guys. Yeah, right. I'm nothing against you guys, but it was the sign of the times, if you will. And I look at where we are today and how this has happened, and I'm hats off because Mark has so much money. He could have stopped it. some way he could have stopped it if he really wanted to stop it. And he let it roll. So with all of his advisors and everything, he let it roll. Amazon published it. They let it go. So I really think, it's a sign of maturity in the online tools and online communication of where things are going, because you have, just like, I don't know, Madeline, if you saw the notice this week about the limiting the underage kids from going live and the changes, for people under age 18 on the platform.
I haven't seen that.
And so I thought,
Wow.
well, that makes sense, because his kids are getting older, and no matter, mom and dad have gone out in the public and they've said, oh, our kids aren't going to be on there. Well, hello, you've developed this thing and all the kids in the world and generation, but our kids are not going to be on there. If it's not good enough for your own kids, why are the rest? Is it, safe for all the rest of the kids in the world?
Right.
And so now that's what, the maturity situation on that, it's what we're seeing take place now. And fortunately, I'm just so grateful for the tools. I'm a proponent of AI, but it has to be used safely.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that she addressed that in her testimony. And I think he's aware of that, it's out there on some computers out there somewhere, and they can release those bots and get that information. And so it's gonna change everything we do. It is changing things that we do.
Oh, absolutely. Let me play that Halt and Catch Fire, the season 1 trailer, just so those that aren't familiar, because it was a fascinating show. It was great during the pandemic to watch. It was like 4 seasons, I think. Does that sound right?
We tried for a couple of years to get it go on more seasons, because it actually has been. If you watched it, you'll say, but now let's go on, because that's changed. Like Mark coming into the picture, all these things that have happened. I'm just so blessed to have been part of this history. I'm so blessed. I mean, we met, Madeline and I met through MySpace because of our love for music. And she's over there in Texas, and she couldn't be all bad if she's a Texan. Now that's someone from New Mexico. But
Back
we know
in the MySpace days.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of Texans. We have all learned that too.
Oh, absolutely. Let me play this trailer real quick, because it's an interesting show. I'm definitely have to rewatch it.
Let me guess. Sales engineer, making cold calls.
Not in the mood.
Pitching from a brochure.
Why don't you go blow dry your hair some more?
Reverse engineer an IBM PC with me. I want to build a computer that nobody else has the balls to build.
Are you out of your mind? Calm down. Apple, IBM, they have the market sewn up.
There's a project I want to discuss with you.
I don't think I'm ready for the IBM dress code.
I don't work for IBM.
Worst case scenario, IBM sues us into the ground.
Please tell me that you didn't buy all this.
If it goes wrong, I'm a college dropout repairing VCRs for $3.25 an hour.
IBM is going to liquidate this company because 2 idiots decided to rip off their flagship product.
Don't you realize what you're risking?
This is what I want to do with my life.
Yes, but don't you realize what you have now?
Well, it's not enough.
You listen to me, boy. Don't screw this up, because ain't nobody going to be able to find where you're buried.
I was brought up to believe that the things we built were the singular contributions to computers that history would remember. For a long time, it was true.
How the hell did IBM find out about this?
I saw it. The future. The reason we're here in the first place. But now, it's our turn.
Yeah, that was an interesting show.
It was fascinating. It was well done. It was very well done. It was exciting project. It was awesome.
I wonder where it's available to watch these days. Where was that on before? I don't even remember. It was a while back.
Yeah, I think it was like FX or one of those.
Oh, I think it was Hulu, right?
Or,
no, I didn't watch it on that. I think I either watched it on Cinemax or on. I'd have to remember going back that many years.
I'll look it up.
See what it's on now. I honestly can't remember, but I do know afterwards we were on social media, and I think there's even still a page up there because we were really trying to push to get them to go on. We had more material. There was a lot more material to work from, and my feeling was go to the next wave. Just like we've had all the cop shows, and what is that? When I was young, it was the doc show with the
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, Grey's Anatomy. Look how long that's been on.
Oh, yeah,
And
long time.
vampires.
But I mean, so the doctors have been out there and they're dealing with new technology. They're going through time, and that computers is, I mean, it changed the world. So I really think they should have just kept going right up to now, because can you imagine in this season with all this new material with Zuckerberg and the testimonies and what's happening in Texas with technology moving there, and all of this thing happening. I mean, oh my gosh. And then is it Taylor Sheridan that we have, he's got his ranch out there. He's doing all these best-selling productions. I mean, give him the production of the sucker and let it fly, because I don't think there's anything more revolutionary than the computer technology, because our phones, I mean, look, we don't have analog phones. It's all computer technology, and chips matter. We all know that. If we know nothing else about the last 2 days, chips really matter.
Absolutely. Well, we're already coming up at the top of the hour. I want to play one little thing, because at the start of this, I mentioned there was some interesting stuff. It was an interview with the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, and he addressed some really interesting things. But the most important one was he talked about hashtags. And since we were talking about hashtags earlier, and I know with Instagram, there's been this to hashtag or not to hashtag. He actually addresses this. And so, I mean, this is coming straight from him. And it was an interview he did about a week ago. It was released about a week ago. So let me play a little snippet of this to start wrapping up. But this has been a great conversation today, y'all. Really enjoying this. So yeah, let's watch this. Give me your thoughts.
Speaking of hashtags, while we're on the topic of algorithm and increasing reach, I know there's been a lot of changes with hashtags over the last few years.
Yeah.
I believe you can no longer follow hashtags. The recents section of hashtags is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
And I know you've said a few times now that
I got a lot of hate for this.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know you do. Is that hashtags are no longer a primary way to increase your reach on Instagram?
They don't significantly increase your reach on Instagram.
Gotcha.
Contrary to popular belief.
Yeah.
It's just not an important thing for reach. So I don't know. I can say that all I want.
Yeah,
people may or may not
believe you. Yeah,
I mean, I like hashtags. There's nothing against hashtags. We moved away from following hashtags because it wasn't really being used that much, and just recommendations in general were kind of handling that. We moved away from the recent tab, which I know people really like, because it just was a safety and a spam.
It was getting abused by bad actors, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's just much harder to manage the safety risks and the spam risks, because you can just, if it's just determined, I know everyone's just like, just go chrono, deterministic, recent hashtag, recent feed. But for hashtags specifically, if you just do that, it's really easy just to post 1,000 bad things that don't quite violate our community guidelines, but almost do, and just take over that page. And so it just became not worth it. Whereas if you allow us to rank, we can then filter out things that are problematic or spammy or repetitive or unoriginal. And we don't have that ability if it's just a chrono thing. And it just was getting abused too much. So I get it. I'm sure a bunch of people are just steaming hearing me say it. But that was, I want to be honest, I'd rather tell people why and have them disagree than just pretend it wasn't an intentional decision.
Is there a day where hashtags are removed from Instagram completely?
I don't think so. I think there's probably a couple interesting ways we could evolve it.
We'll go ahead and stop here. It's, we just hashtag was such a thing for so long, but we're seeing it phased out pretty much everywhere now, right? Like, X downranks you if you have more than one hashtag. They actually prefer you not use hashtags at all. You got to do what the platform wants you to do. Otherwise, like, I still see people doing a bunch of hashtags. I'm thinking, if you do more than one, you're automatically downranked. It's in the code to do that.
Yeah. What's interesting though is the hashtags still hyperlink. So you can still, if let's say you click on AI shortcuts or something, right?
Yeah.
Then you show up for search. You do show up in search with those hyperlinked hashtags. If they take away the ability for them to hyperlink, then I think they're completely useless. But right now, like, for example, if I want to follow somebody who I have a YA writer and he wants to follow YA book bloggers. So I can look up YA book bloggers on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or wherever, and it will link me to those people or those accounts. If they take away that ability, then it's harder to grow organically because you've lost that search function ability.
Right. So it's like,
I like them.
So it's like, what was more important to you, like that, which makes perfect sense, or are you trying to get as many views on your content when you first post it? So yeah, I mean, you got to do what's best for you, but it's interesting how a lot of these platforms are doing away with hashtags altogether. I just haven't seen hashtag be as big of a thing on Instagram anymore, but it's interesting hearing him address it. And I remember, like, for the longest time, Facebook wouldn't do hashtags, and they finally did it, but it was not that good, I didn't think.
Yeah, and people got really upset over there about, how hashtags were ruining the English language and things.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're moving towards so much more of a tech society. Hashtags were very helpful for a very long time. Now there's other ways that have evolved that are more effective. But I still like the use of hashtags as a shorthand. And for me, it's very helpful for that.
Yeah.
I think you have to, if you understand how the data centers come together and how information is stored, just like the fact that the live streams are being taken away, and that because they had discovered that they hadn't had that much on replay. If they don't catch them on the first time around, pretty much after a couple days, it's over. And that is because it's databases. I mean, it still gets back to the ones and zeros, going across your screen in the digital format. It's data that has to be stored. So every hashtag, you not only have the hashtag symbol, but each of those words. And so I used to tell folks, I've lived my life in keywords since I've gone online. Everything is about keywords.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking for a keyword and you know how to do that and quote it, you don't have to use hashtags, but you can just put quotes around it, and that keyword will bring up everything.
Yeah.
I used to say I dream in hashtags. Yeah. I really did.
Well, so much of the branding I did revolved around hashtags. Twitter Smarter. Twitter Smarter is a great example of. It's such an interesting story. So I've always enjoyed hashtags on Twitter back in the olden days, and when I decided it was actually before the podcast, before the Twitter chat. It was actually a couple of years before. I started the hashtag in 2013. It was 2 years before the Twitter chat and podcast. And what I did is, because I was always talking about Twitter and helping people use Twitter better, Twitter marketing tips and stuff, I was always seeing articles and stuff and always reposting them to my feed. I thought, I'm going to start my own hashtag that I'm going to brand. And I was doing it for my music community as well. And I was showing people how to do, like, how you could take this and brand it. You want to make sure it's a hashtag that others aren't using a lot. Like, you want it to be something that's not being used at all or not used much at all. And Twitter Smarter, to me, just said what I was already doing, which was just sharing information about Twitter, my articles or other people's articles. And I just wanted to, try that as a thing to see how that would work. So I did that in 2013. And I would just tell people, anytime you want to learn more Twitter tips and advice and marketing help, just go search the Twitter Smarter hashtag on Twitter. And so a lot of people got value out of that. So I always made sure I put the hashtag in any post where I'm talking about Twitter or sharing an article. And so Dr. J said, great chat, order the book, see you next week. That's awesome, Dr. J. That I got to finish listening to the audiobook because it's been so good. Anyway, so 2013, that all happened. I wanted to start a Twitter online class. So I decided, why don't I just keep this going as a brand? It started as just a hashtag I was using. And I would tell people every day, you will see, I will post something at least once a day, most times, multiple times a day with that hashtag. So I did that. I did that every day for many, many years. Anyway, later on in 2013, I decided to launch the Twitter Smarter Masterclass. So it's online training. I would do it live because I always loved doing live training. And then it was a 4-week program, a live session once a week for 4 weeks. And then I would repurpose it, package it up, and sell it evergreen after I was done with the class. And I just kept that Twitter Smarter branding going, and people really liked it. And there really wasn't anybody teaching Twitter back then. And then here comes 2015. And in January 2015, I set a goal to start a Twitter Smarter podcast, like keeping this Twitter Smarter. I was still doing the Twitter Smarter Masterclass. I was doing that every year. And I'm like, I'm going to start a Twitter Smarter podcast because I love podcasts. I'd already been podcasting for a few years. I'm like, nobody has a podcast talking just about how to use Twitter better. So it might as well be me. So I made that goal in January 2015. I launched it in June 1st of 2015. My very first guest was Pat Flynn. I've had Maury Smith, Mark Schaefer. I had like all the big names in social media. And I kept it super simple. I would ask every guest the same question. What are your best Twitter tips? It was so awesome and different. Every conversation was different. I kept it as a short format. They were usually 15 to 20 minutes. And it was awesome. And I didn't know if people would like it. Well, it took off pretty well. So I already knew I was going to start the Twitter Smarter Twitter chat, but I wasn't rushing to do it. So the Twitter chat, people were like, this is great. This is what I need. This is what's been missing. So I thought, well, let me just go ahead and start the Twitter Smarter Twitter chat as well to complement it. So I launched the Twitter chat about 6 weeks later. And that really took off. And that's how I ended up getting known for teaching Twitter, was between the podcast and the Twitter chat, those two things that I did in 2015. But it was all about branding a hashtag. And it's so weird looking back now because hashtags just aren't a thing like they used to be. But it's just a reminder we always have to pivot with the times as well and work within these platforms of how they best work to help us reach the goals we're trying to get out of it. So I used to miss it. In 2025, I feel like hashtag was so long ago to me. So I don't even hardly think about it anymore. When Elon made a big deal about stop using hashtags on X and they're not supporting it, I just like, well, okay. But I like, Rachel, how you're utilizing it. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's helpful for that, organic following with similar interests. Now,
right.
What would be great is if I could put that into Magi or ChatGPT and say, what are some accounts on X that I can follow, or Instagram or whatever, that have these particular topics, like YA, book fans or bloggers or whatever. And that's something that I think would get around the hashtag issue. So that I'm going to look into that.
Cool. Well, keep us posted. This is always a great discussion with y'all. Thank you so much for coming and joining me and having this very well-rounded chat, kicking it off, talking about the the Facebook whistleblower and her book and her speaking in front of Congress yesterday. I'm definitely going to go and listen to the full hearing. If anybody wants to go just go to YouTube and type in, it was yesterday. I think I just typed in.
Don't you also have that in your school community?
I don't think, no, I don't. I'll post it. I'll post it over there, but there's, I'll put it also in the description, the YouTube, my YouTube here that we're live in. I will definitely put the link to it in the description. So if people want to hear the full hearing, but I just listened to a little bit this morning and I'm like, oh, I'm going to listen to the whole thing because it's interesting. It's fascinating. And I love that those are televised because we as the public should be able to hear this type of testimony and know what's going on. When Congress brings people, we should be able to access that. And I love that we've always had C-SPAN for that, but I love my YouTube and I love being able to find these things and watch the replay at my convenience. Is really nice. So, Julie, thank you for joining. Julie's an old high school friend, grade school, actually grade school friend. We grew up together right down the street from each other.
That's so fun.
Yeah, she's in California now, but that's so cool. Yeah, always a great time here. Just love all the learning and sharing we do together. So thank you, gals, for joining me in this discussion. And yeah, I'm still not sure, if we're going to be on pause next week. For sure, 2 weeks from today, I will not be able to do the live at this time. We'll figure it all out for sure.
Let me know.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, have a great rest of your day. We'll see y'all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.